My wife set me a task of building a whole table. Now, me being me, not liking to spend any money, I'm going to try and build it all out of scrap wood. One of these scrap pieces I'm sorting out, it's like a banana. So I think I'm going to have to cut, see if I can get a square piece off it and then glue it together with something else. All these scrap pieces for the legs, I want them like this sort of width so I can do a decorative pattern. So I'm going to have to joint one edge and glue them all together. As opposed to running them across the jointer, I just thought I'd put an edge on the table saw. It's a lot easier. I bought some proper glue spreaders from a local cheapo shop, just because my mate keeps moaning about me not using the correct tool. Now I ain't got to wait for this one to dry because obviously it's a full piece. So it means I can work out the shape of the legs. I've done that by using this piece of pipe, just wrapping it around these nails, then drawing round it. I went over the lines with a marker pen just so you could see it more clearly on camera. That's the type of shape I'm going for. Halfway through cutting the wood on the bandsaw, I had to alter the shape because I realised the pieces of wood that I've glued together weren't as wide as this piece. So I had to alter the shape a little bit. That's the sort of shape I'm looking for. These have been sat overnight. So that's my 3 legs, plus the one I've already cut. I've run all these pieces through the planer. The colour on a couple of these boards is slightly different. I hope it's not going to show up too much when I've done the final sand and everything. But anyway, all that's left to do now is to trace that shape onto the other 3 and cut them out. That's all the legs cut. I've given them all a relatively good sand. I'll give a final sanding when I've done all the work. I want to put a 45-degree martyr on there so it comes to a point. Something like that. So the leg sits at an angle. I put my bandsaw table at 45 degrees and clamped a straight edge to it, so it should get the angle I want on the top of the legs. That's left me with 2 45-degree cuts, so now I've just got to put a straight cut on this side, which I'm going to cheat a bit on bandsaw. Usual thing, I've been rummaging around in my woodshed because I keep all scrap wood, you never know where it's going to come in. I found this old pieces of floorboard that's been strapped together. The beauty about this floorboard, it's 120mm across and I need 100mm to go around top. Got some decent screws on there, I'll save them for later. I cut the tongs off the boards first and then flipped them over so I could cut the groove off and bring them down to 100mm. One of my biggest failings is I am no good whatsoever at doing miters. One of my upcoming projects has got to be some sort of miter jig. I just glued and brad nailed the miters together. The martyr joints have been sat overnight. They've set quite well. I do hate doing miters. I'll have to figure something out with them. But it can't turn out too bad. Now the reason why I put this 45-degree angle on here, is I want to slot that in there. Then I want to put a support brace from that skirt onto that skirt, running across, so I can screw into the back of the leg. I'm just slotting the legs back in, so I can try and figure out what I'm going to do with these shelves, or I mean shelf. I've marked these up here, these legs. I'm going to cut a rebate out of here so I can slot a shelf in between. I need to invest in a tenon saw as well. We have to use what you've got. I got a little bit of tear out when I was doing this. I just glued it and clamped it back on. So I've got the grooves. Fingers crossed everything lines up. As for this shelf, I'm just going to glue it and pin it, I think. To carry on with the curve theme, I thought I'd put a curve on the shelf so it sort of matches the legs. Then I get it a good sanding. This is the curve I cut out earlier, so I just want to shape it round something like that. I'm going to cut that out and use it as a template for the other corners. After I'd cut the corners off, I just did a bit of hand sanding to soften the edges. This was the most satisfying part, gluing and screwing it all together. To make sure I got glue into the joints, I used a paintbrush to make sure it was all covered, and as normal I got it all over the place. Well, that's the legs finished. Just got to sort the top out. As for the top, I found this in somebody's skip a few weeks back. It's well battered. I think we can make something out of it. It was a bit worse than what I thought of this. I hit it with the belt sander first, with a 60 grit paper in. And then I went on to a 120 grit in the orbital sander. That's the best I can get the top. I think I'm going to put a finish on it and then get another light sand, see if I can hide some of these scratches. Because to be honest, I'm fed up of sanding now. I put a nice edge on it with the router. To mount the top to the legs, I'm just going to use these adjustable brackets, because I don't want to permanently fix the top to the legs because it's going to expand and contract. So at least with these slides, if I just screw that in there, it's going to get room to move. Hopefully, anyway. I painted the stain on first and then wiped it off with a cloth, just so I could make sure it were all uniform. As for the legs, I want to go for my old favourite, our engine oil. I've never used it on an indoor project before, so I'm hoping it's going to turn out alright. But here goes. I put it on with the cloth and then buffed it all off, because if you don't buff it off it leaves a residue, and then applied a paste wax on top. I gave the top another light sanding and then applied a spray clear lacquer. Once that had dried, I get it a quick sanding with some 1000 wet and dry, and then get it another couple of coats of lacquer, and then I buffed the final finish up with some more paste wax. One thing I've noticed about watching it back, it makes it look so easy when it's on camera. I had to put a bit of extra effort into this one to please her who must be obeyed. The old engine oil really makes the grain pop. I think it looks lovely. This is the first project I've ever done for inside the house. I've built hundreds of things for the garden and other people's gardens. So I would love to hear any comments on where you think I might have gone wrong, or your opinion on how it looks. The total cost of this build was $3.99, and that was for the spray lacquer. Everything else was scrap wood and pallet wood. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, do all the other nice things, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra!